What's going on, fellow A plusers? It's your host, Adam Perez. I'm back once again with a brand new video for you guys today as we're set to get into the live viewer questions. For any questions that we did not get to on Sunday's show at the end of A Plus Hero Report, we'll always go ahead and make an individual video for you guys answering the remaining live viewer questions. And that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and do today. So let me go ahead and pull this up. If you guys ever want to submit a live viewer question, certainly feel free to if you'd like to. All you have to do is simply go over to our YouTube channel, click on the community tab, and there is, in fact, a post for live viewer questions that usually drops every Wednesday, or at least maybe any day after Wednesday. There might be a fresh post for you guys. Feel free to submit your questions, and then we'll get to them at the end of every Sunday show. So, getting back to where we left off at, the most talented man in the world. He says, my thoughts on Geki Ranger. This week I watched the Sentai series Geki Ranger, which we all know was adapted into Jungle Fury. Yeah, I was a big fan of Jungle Fury. From my perspective, it was as good as Jungle Fury was, if not just a little bit better. That's interesting to hear. I get chills when listening to the opening song. Epic, unforgettable story, great characterization, deep lore, and one of the heartbroken twists about destiny that I ever experienced in the Super Sentai series in a while. That sounds right up my alley. It holds up as one of my new favorite Sentai for me. The serialized nature of the show really helped develop and sell the rivalry between the Geki Rangers and the two villains, Rio and Melly. It was weird seeing the main three Rangers using gauntlets, whereas in Jungle Fury they use sunglasses. That's pretty cool. I kind of dig that idea of gauntlets, honestly. Which I personally kind of wished they used the gauntlets in Jungle Fury just to match the martial arts aspect. I love how the team were always pushing each other to get stronger. I really like that Geki Ranger. Both the purple and blue Rangers were brothers, which I don't believe you see as much siblings in Super Sentai, with the exception of Magi Ranger, where the entire team were siblings and the children to Udana's Sentai counterpart, Mayuki. The fight scenes were always well done while also having meaning to the main story. They had a purpose in growing our characters like Jungle Fury did. Highly recommended. What were some of your guys' favorite Sentai series that you watched completely, or at least half of it? Thank you for the recommendation for Geki Ranger. I was always a big fan of the suits from Jungle Fury. The concept always intrigued me, and I never knew what the counterpart to that for Super Sentai was going to be. You brought up some interesting points about Geki Ranger that does pique my interest. So that is a series that maybe one day I will definitely have to revisit. As far as some of my favorite Sensei seasons that I've watched completely, or at least half of it, Go Kaiger, Go Buster, Kara Major, Don Brothers, all seasons I've been a really big fan of. Don Brothers, I fell off at episode 20, but I do want to go ahead and finish that series because it was incredible. Um, yeah, those are probably. Oh, and Adam, Tokyo. Those are probably my top five, honestly. Out of the ones that I have seen, that's probably my top five for sure. Um, let's see here. Jessica Fryman, what would you like to see in the series finale of The Flash? And do you think Jordan will finally become Superboy during season 3 of Superman and Lois? I do think that he will become Superboy. Where do they go from there in regards to a season 4? Who knows? I mean, maybe they want to establish him as his own Superboy. Hell, it'd be awesome if they did that and established him as a Superboy and then gave us like an HBO Max spinoff. That would be pretty neat. But I don't know how much longer they want to play in that world. I know James Gunn has mentioned maybe it's got 2 more seasons ahead of it, another season or 2 ahead of it, since a lot of people like the show. So it might be sticking around for a while. So it would be cool if we had a father and son sort of Superboy on their series. But I do think that he eventually will get a costume maybe by the end of this season. As far as what I would like to see in the series finale of The Flash, just a well-rounded finale, honestly. I found the first 2 episodes of this season kind of lackluster. Some aspects of each show I kind of appreciated. Like for me, the first episode, I kind of appreciated the Iris and Barry stuff. The concept of not necessarily having to follow down a linear path of a future that's already been written for you, right? The idea that you can still make your choices, and what do you want out of your life. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I kind of enjoyed the Caitlyn character, or the Snow character, I should say, at least in regards to a new personality trait for Danielle Panabaker to kind of play with as an actress. But other than that, I didn't really overly care, and I think it's also because of the fact I've been so separated from this show also over the past couple of years. I'm not attached to a lot of the side characters like some people certainly may be. So I don't think it necessarily has that going for me. So I just want Eric Wallace to get on his best game and just wrap this series up as best as he possibly can. Oops, sorry, Blossom. Let's see here. Oh. Okay, I did do news first. Sorry, I lost the page because I accidentally clicked out. Blossom, I know it's kind of too soon, but wouldn't it be cool if the King Ogres could be Power Rangers that are powered by crystal insects? They can also be one of the Rangers made from the imagination of kids, like some of the Reiwa era Sentais and Tokusatsu Rangers. Sorry, but my imagination is on overload today. Hey, nothing wrong with that. When you said crystal insects, immediately I went to Kira Major just thinking about it. Morgan, what's up, Morgan? The Pursuit of Happiness. I watched the biopic, The Pursuit of Happiness, starring Will Smith, Jaden Smith, and Thandie Newton on Netflix for the first time in a long while, and it's still such an inspiring and emotional film. Every scene was so powerful. Will Smith, as a real life Chris Gardner, was such a strong and persistent man who had to go through such obstacles just to provide for himself and his son, spending nearly 1 year struggle with homelessness. Seeing him run after strangers who found his scanners after accidentally losing them in public places due to his stress was so heartbreaking, especially the scenes where he had a difficult time telling his son about the situation that they were in. The scenes where after he and his son were evicted out of the apartment due to his bank account being drained was a huge turning point in the film, because he was already feeling that everything in his life kept burning to the ground. But then the very beautiful moment where he finally got a job position. Um, Discovering that Gardner spent his entire life savings on a pair of portable bone density scanners that would be better. Um, because it would be better alternatives to standard X-ray machines in hospitals. A huge jaw drop moment because it further showed the complicated relationship he had with his wife, who she herself was already in such hardships. I love the message of the story, which was survival, determination, never giving up on your dreams, and to be thankful for the things you do have. I wholeheartedly recommend this film for anyone looking to watch a powerful and real drama. What do you think of the biopic and any other that you really enjoy by Will Smith or even by any other actor? I will say this, Morgan. I appreciate you breaking down the film. But if you are going to recommend the film, maybe don't spoil it so much, right? Like maybe give me like a brief synopsis if you want to talk about the movie a little bit, just as spoiler free as you possibly can. But listen, it is a movie that I would definitely recommend people check out for sure. In regards to The Pursuit of Happiness, is a great film. um, any other that I really enjoyed by Will Smith? Hancock was a great one by Will Smith, or a fun one, I should say, by Will Smith. Um, 7 Pounds, I thought was another brilliant movie by Will Smith. 7 Pounds. That's another tearjerker, honestly, if you're in the mood for a really well told story. But yeah, I think Rosario Dawson's in that. I could be wrong, but that is another Will Smith movie, 7 Pounds. I've been wanting to see the other Will Smith movie that just came out, Emancipation. I believe where he's like a slave, a runaway slave. I haven't had the opportunity. I think that's what it's about. I could be absolutely wrong. But I wanted to check out that movie. So that's definitely one of his. I Am Legend is a great Will Smith film. Also, I Robot was pretty cool for its time and things like that. Also, there's a ton of really great Will Smith ones. A Jaden Smith film I'll definitely recommend too. The Karate Kid. I actually was a really big fan of Jaden Smith in that. John Schuyler. Might just be me, but I felt Beast Morphers really was an indirect sequel of RPM until the final two episodes. Both series had their main scientists who kept in an organization for most of their lives and were the ones to accidentally release a computer virus, which we all know was revealed to be the same one, Evox and Venjix. Both shows had Rangers who were both the son of their respective commanders, Scott and Colonel Truman, and Robbie and Commander Shaw. Nate and Dr. K were the ones who created all the Ranger tech in their series. Gold and Silver Rangers and RPM and Beast Morphers were siblings, though Nate and Steel being brothers still never made sense to me since Steel was a robot, but that's completely fine. Fine. I still absolutely love when Dr. K returned to Beast Morphers, giving advice to Nate after the big reveal that he was the one who had accidentally unleashed Evox by mixing Morph X and Snake DNA. Um, is there a question in here, John? This really was a deja vu moment for Dr. K, who spoke with Nate. Evox revealed to be Venjix and played the same actor but under different names, was just plain awesome. Bringing actual closure to RPM cliffhanger when the remains of Venjix snuck away into Scott's morpher, though it was odd to me that Nate just happened to tamper with Scott's morpher, but not the others. Maybe it was just a coincidence because Scott's morpher was in the middle inside of the suitcase when Dr. K originally stored the morphers at the end of the RPM. So while Beast Morphers became an indirect sequel, though, also watered down due to some things not making sense to Saban and Nickelodeon, it somehow gave us great fan service to the past in this only series right after Neo Saban era to continue the cliffhanger from the last Disney era season, heck, being connected to RPM and bringing back Dr. K, Colonel Truman, and Avengers felt like the best crossover then Grid Connection and Clash of the Red Rangers from Samurai because it actually made sense and wasn't just a standalone. This makes Beast Morphers an indirect sequel to RPM, became some of the best parts. Okay, there's no question in there, Skylar. So if you're at least gonna give me two whole paragraphs, John, please end off with a question. Yeah, this isn't like essay time. Like I'm not grading your guys's essays. So questions. Hey Adam, if Once and Always does become a hit on Netflix, do you think we could see more from this in terms of not only more specials but also a new MMPR series with the MMPR cast? And Min, because Catherine Sutherland said in the interview that this special is a testament for it's a testament for more of it's done well. Oh, if it's done well, what do you think, Adam? And what do you want to see happen in Cosmic Fury? I mean, look, if it's a massive hit, there's a part of me that thinks Hasbro would be dumb not to um really grab the reins and take advantage of it since MMPR is like their bread and butter. You know what I mean? I wholeheartedly expect this and Cosmic Fury to be the end, though, personally. Like, I'm not expecting any new MMPR series outside of anything that Jonathan Entwistle and Jenny Klein are working on. Whether or not they decide to make a course correction is possible. Can you live in a world with a rebooted franchise, but yet still focus on the classic MMPR team? Maybe change your storylines around a little bit to incorporate them. Um, there's constant changes going on behind the scenes, right? It doesn't seem like we're any longer getting ourselves a Power Ranger movie. Probably more or less a focus on just the series itself to be successful for Jonathan Entwistle and Jenny Klein. And look, that's a departure from what they did before, right? There's no news in regards to anything animated or any other kids programming after the MMPR special and Cosmic Fury. It's really just the Jenny Klein and Jonathan Entwistle stuff. So, can plans change? Absolutely. If it is a hit, you would think that maybe Hasbro would want to take advantage of that if they see people are really receptive to this and want more of it. Um, but I don't know, Johnny. Is that something I would like to see? I think it would be cool, but I'm ready for change. I'm ready for something new. But with everything on such a high that it is right now, it's feels kind of terrible to say farewell to everything. Um, but listen, Power Rangers will certainly continue. I want Once and Always to be successful. And I do think that there is a possibility if it is super successful, that plans could change again. You know what I mean? So we'll keep our fingers crossed, Johnny. Let's just say that. As far as what I want to see happen in Cosmic Fury, I don't really know. I don't even know what the main storyline is. Right now, we're getting news of an Orange Ranger. We're also getting news of according to the Illuminati, we're also getting news of the Dark Ranger, Heckle, coming back from Dino Charge series. I think we were all felt very robbed out of seeing the Dark Ranger in Dino Charge because we all knew who Heckle was certainly teasing to eventually become, and they never pulled the trigger back then. So it is pretty cool that things are coming full circle, and Hasbro kind of giving the fans what they have not had the opportunity to get in the past, right? Dino Fury's been a season of firsts, and Cosmic Fury seems like they're going out of their way to do things new and different and things that the fans have always certainly wanted to see. My main concern is, if you're adding an additional two Rangers to this season, and you're sticking by your 10 episode count, um, I just hope that they have a story to fit in all these characters that are apparently having cameos or popping up in some way. I just hope that the story is tight and it's not there for just fan service. You know what I mean? It's always great doing firsts and always great having big cameos and things like that. But as long as it makes sense to the story, then I'm perfectly okay with it. BJ Thompson, what's up, BJ? What were some of your favorite moments and action sequences from Into the Spider Verse? And what do you think of the sequel Beyond the Spider Verse, introducing their own version of Thor, Scarlet Witch, and others? Well, I've never heard the idea of Beyond the Spider Verse introducing versions of Thor, Scarlet Witch, and others, but I think it would be pretty cool, especially if it takes up my concept and the idea of like getting him out of the animation form. Like, I really want Beyond the Spider-Verse to get Miles from animation into the live action world. So for me, I think it would be cool if maybe we see an animated version of Thor, Scarlet Witch, and others, maybe some of those what if characters, who knows? But then eventually maybe come into our universe. I don't know if he would see our Thor and our Scarlet Witch and others, who certainly knows, but I haven't heard anything of those characters popping up in Beyond the Spider Verse, but anything is certainly possible. As far as some of my favorite moments and action sequences into the Spider Verse, hmm, favorite moments and action sequences. I always enjoy the Miles and Peter scene when he gets introduced to him. I think he's at the cemetery, I think, in the beginning. And like Peter's completely like knocked out and he thinks he's dead. And like they hook themselves to the train and he's like just swinging freaking Peter's body all over the place throughout the city as the train is departing. I thought that was actually pretty fun. Um, all the action sequences were actually pretty tight. The final battle was pretty amazing, honestly. I love seeing Kingpin and Miles fighting on the train, especially in 3D, man. I felt like I was about to have a seizure. There was just so many, so many colors going around. I even found the scene funny where Peter bumps into MJ, and he's trying to like talk to her like he's like it's his MJ, but it's not. And she's like, "Who are you? Who are you?" So I always thought that was a pretty funny scene. Also, there's a few, man. Any the moments with Miles and his dad, I thought was actually pretty cool. Um, the fight between Prowler and Miles, or at least the attack on like was that Aunt May's house? Was that Aunt May's house where they fought? Um, that was a cool fight sequence also. So yeah, they got a couple of great moments in that movie, BJ. Gabriel, what's up, Gabriel? Last night I revisited Captain America: Civil War. And in my opinion, still one of the most well-written and harrowing superhero films ever made. This movie brilliantly tackled both positives and negatives of having superheroes in a society, and it did it in a way so that the audience never knew who to side with. The conflicting political views of Iron Man and Captain America were both realistic and easy to get behind. The fight scenes, as with any Marvel movie, were amazingly well choreographed and kept you on the edge of your seat. In addition, the action in this film was backed up by riveting emotional conflict between the superheroes, which made for a truly unforgettable scenes. The story was perfectly paced, as well as greatly thought provoking because there was no clear right or wrong side. It was up to the audience to make their own decisions on which side was good and bad. This allowed for an unparalleled replayability that I think was lacking in most superhero films. The storytelling was also far darker than most other films in the MCU, and there were downright heartbreaking revelations, plot points, and scenes throughout the film that would stick with you long after the movie was over. The film was not afraid to dish out massive and permanent consequences over the characters when the characters make mistakes. Overall, Civil War to me is easily one of my favorite films of all time. I can't argue with you, Gabriel. I don't know if it's not in my top five, but it's a great film. I love the introduction of Peter Parker in there. The moment I saw Tom Holland as Peter, talking with Aunt May and Tony, me and my friend Jonathan looked at each other and we were like, "Yep, that's our Spider Man." So yeah, great moments. I'm trying to think what else from Civil War. I was a big fan. Debut of Black Panther was in there for sure, and the battle sequence between Cap and Iron Man was everything. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out Civil War, guys, please do. But I gotta tell you, after watching that movie, I was highly disappointed in Captain America. I was highly disappointed in Cap. Even though I was Team Cap, I was definitely Team Cap before the movie started for sure. But when you get that revelation at the end, I just shake my head like, no, no, how could you know? How could you know Cap and not say anything? Um, I know you're protecting your boy, you know what I'm saying? But man, talk about a betrayal, right? I mean, I can see why these two would split and go separate ways. So yeah, it was, and again, that was the joy of the Marvel movies at the time, is that they just did a great job of building up not only these characters, but like the tension between them, going all the way back to like um um Age of Ultron, right, where they had their disagreements on the idea of Ultron and things like that. So the building of tension throughout the phases was perfect, and I think because of that building of tension, it made Civil War even that much more emotional and riveting. You know what I mean? Adrian Perez. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. According to a recent podcast with Heirloom on YouTube with Catherine Sutherland, confirming that the anniversary special will take place in the same timeline as Dino Fury, but is uncertain when exactly. It wouldn't make sense if the MMPR team were the only team of Rangers out there, considering the synopsis says 30 years after the wise and powerful Zordon formed the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So I can see the special taking place after the Dino Fury finale. As of now, we don't know if the Dino Fury team were aware of the crisis during those 6 months, or this all happened right when Zeta returned after the time jump, and they all teleported out of the command center to stop Lord Zed, which I do hope we get a connection to Cosmic Fury in the end of the anniversary special. Like Stewart said a week ago, this anniversary may have continuity errors due to being targeted to MMPR fans, but I do trust Simon Bennett as the showrunner since he is the man looking over everything. I don't know if Simon Bennett's the showrunner for the MMPR special. Um, I think that's Charles Haskell, but then again, he is the director, so maybe there is somebody else show running that MMPR special. I could be wrong, but Simon Bennett is definitely show running Cosmic Fury. If I had to assume, I would assume that this special takes place after Dino Fury, but before Cosmic Fury. I don't know if there's a time jump or not. Maybe some time has elapsed between Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury when we meet with the team again. So I do think that somewhere in between those two series, that MMPR special might be, and that might even be one of the reasons to help lead maybe David Yost as Billy into a cameo for Cosmic Fury. So I do think it takes place in between. Abase, what's up, Abase? After the MMPR special on Cosmic Fury, do you see Hasbro continuing our current franchise, or could they just start doing their reboot universe? I feel like we're getting what we're getting for the 30th anniversary is the final chapter of Power Rangers, but it would be cool if Hasbro continues our existing universe while doing the reboot, like what the MCU and DCU has been doing with their films and shows simultaneously. And not all, I know not all of us are on board with the reboot changing everything just to please other people who want more mature content. I don't think that's the reason why they're doing the reboot at all. I think they're doing the reboot because they realize this is a franchise that's been floundering, that barely gets viewership. And I think they see the opportunity of it being a lot more than what it just simply is, as just a one show that uses Super Sentai footage. So I don't think it's because, hey, we want to please people and give them more mature content. I think it's just the idea that they see the brand, and they see that there is a lot of potential behind it. So I think that's why they're doing the reboot. This is kind of similar to what Johnny asked in regards to like Catherine Sutherland mentioning, if the anniversary special does really well, maybe there's a possibility for more to come. Um, Again, I'm still very much like you. I'm still getting the vibe that this is very much the last chapter of Power Rangers. That after that, we are going to have ourselves a rebooted world, um, and focus on a new iteration of Power Rangers as we know it. But money does talk. Ratings talks. If this is something that fans talk about for a really long time and really get behind it, um, who's to say that they don't do that, in regards to, hey, we've got our reboot universe here, but since Power Rangers is very much a part of the multiverse, maybe we can sort of keep this side of the franchise kind of active as part of the kids programming side of things, and have some crossover events from time to time. I mean, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, but I think it's only a possibility if the MMPR special does well. So I do think that there's clearly time to change course, since the course has been changed a little bit already as it is. um, and I think you just, hopefully they're receptive to what the audience says about this and pays attention. And if it does well, who knows? Maybe there's another change in plans. Roberto, Trent is one of my top favorite sixth Rangers, and I love how he was used on the show until he was turned good. Um, One took on the Rangers easily every time they fought, was able to fight Zeltrax and Elsa at the same time while winning. Completely embarrassed Zeltrax to the point that he resorted to framing him for damaging Mesogog's lab and experiments. Had the most raw Super Dino mode. Couldn't actually kill Connor if he wasn't interrupted. Had a far better voice and character over his evil clone. I also like to point out that he was much better handled compared to how Tommy was when he was the Green Ranger. Yeah, just years apart, better storytelling, obviously. Trent still got to be a part of the series by having his evil White Ranger clone. It was a clever way for the clone to use Sentai footage, since he stayed evil until the end of the series. This even allowed new original footage of Trent as the White Ranger, as well as on-screen footage of him outside his costume. Also glad he came back for the 25th anniversary, which gave him another chance to be a Ranger since he was evil for half of Dino Thunder. What were a couple of your favorite six Rangers outside of Tommy? Um, for the one that comes to my mind automatically is RJ. I always found RJ pretty cool as a sixth Ranger. Um, Quantum Ranger for me, from with that Time Force, Eric. I was always a big fan of Eric as a sixth Ranger. Um, uh, I believe technically Cameron is as the Green Samurai Ranger. Isn't that the sixth Ranger, right? Because we had the two, um, yeah, the two Wind Rangers. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, give me the Green Samurai Ranger. I thought was actually pretty cool. Also, as another sixth Ranger. I'm sure there's probably a couple other ones, but I'll leave with those at least for now. Let me save some answers for later. You know what I'm saying? Michael, who were some of your favorite martial artists action stars and the films they've been in, good or bad, and would you like to see them do one more film? Jackie Chan is up there for me. Jet Li, Donnie Yen for sure. Bruce Lee. I was never a fan of Chuck Norris. Yeah, I was never. I know that's probably like blasphemy, but I was just didn't really care for Chuck Norris so much. Tony Jaa, I think was is pretty incredible, and the guy that plays in the Raid movies, I can never remember his name off the top of my head. But Jackie Chan's got some great movies, man. Donnie Yen, Ip Man, check out Ip Man, IP Man. Um, Great. I mean, you can pick up any Bruce Lee film if you want. Jackie Chan, Jesus. I remember I got into Rumble in the Bronx. You can check him out in Rush Hour also. Um, a couple Police Stories 1 and 2 were pretty good with him in it. Legend of the Drunken Master is an incredible film. I can't remember if there were two of those or not, but that's just a couple of Jackie Chan films. I mean, the guy's filmography is utterly ridiculous. Um, Tony Jaa, Ong Bak, Ongbak. Ong Bak was a great one. Um, I just wish Tony Jaa spoke better English, to help him really break into the states. So those are just a couple. Um, Power Rangers Legacy. You know how the 25th anniversary episode of Power Rangers Super Sentai Ninja Steel Danger Dimensions in Danger. While it wasn't that great of an anniversary episode, what I found really cool and beneficial was the dimensional transport device that Wes introduced, which was created by the Time Force Rangers. Why I found this device really fascinating was that if Power Rangers were to continue in the future in our current franchise or either takes place in another alternate dimension or main universe, it's the best and easiest way for a team up and crossover to happen. As long as the device itself finds its way to that new team, it would be easy way to bring back past Ranger teams to and from our current universe. This device already helped establish that both RPM and Dino Charge were in separate dimensions when Wes bought over Coda and Gemma. Gemma most definitely gave Dr. K the same remote when she appeared in the Beast Morphers penultimate episode Source Code to help with Nate after he learned he was the one who recreated Evox Venjix. He already saw that Jason had the same exact device in Grid Connection after Devin called him from the morphing grid. Likely the MMPR team handed Jason the device from either Tommy or Rocky when they jumped out of the portal over the bat before the battle. So, as for Jonathan Wilson's reboot, if they were ever to cross over with our franchise, and if Hasbro were to continue Power Rangers while they're filming their reboot, we can just assume that the remote somehow got lost in time due to the weird. That's definitely a possibility. Power Rangers Legacy. Francois, what do you think of Liam Neeson's comments on Star Wars having too much spin-offs? That it no longer feels special anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did he return to the Obi-Wan series, or was it just an old stock footage? I myself lost count of how many Star Wars films and shows we've had as of recent. So, yes, he did show up in the most recent Obi-Wan series, in the finale, just briefly. But it was new footage. As far as what I think of his comments about Star Wars having too much spin-offs and sort of no longer feels special anymore. I mean, I guess it depends on what he's talking about in regards to too much. Like, are you talking animated? Are you talking live action? Because live action, I don't think we've gotten enough. Animation front, maybe, but if you combine them all together, it's been a lot. But he's partaken in a lot of these animated stuff, right? If Qui-Gon comes back, Liam Neeson's usually the one, if I'm not mistaken, that has done his voice from time to time. Um, Clone Wars, Rebels, The Bad Batch, Star Wars Resistance. What's this, like four animated series already? And then on top of that, you add the trilogy for Disney, Andor, Obi-Wan, The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. So that's about 11 different titles since the prequels. That's probably a lot. Yeah, that's probably a lot. But um, has it made it feel less special? Um, maybe in recent years, but I guess my thing would be, look, let me say this. Times have changed, right? No longer do we live in a world where you can release a movie every 3 years, 4 years, 5 years apart from each other, and be filmed secretly or be filmed without a bunch of information leaking, right? There used to be a day when we didn't have the internet and we didn't have information at the tips of our fingers. And the idea of movies being released felt special. Um, we just don't live in that time anymore. We are in a time period now where we need to consume as much content as we possibly can as a human race. And we always want things now, 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 now. I don't think the release of content has made Star Wars feel any less special. I think it's just the times have changed. And there's plenty of these spin-offs and Star Wars content that I feel has helped Star Wars feel more special. Rebels, Attack of the Clones, or the Clone Wars trilogy, or animated series, I should say. The Mandalorian seasons, Obi-Wan, Andor. For me, these are all series that have made Star Wars feel more special to me. So I guess my definition would be like, what does he mean by not as special? You're not getting enough Jedi stuff? Is the Force not as mystical as it was before for you? There's so many different areas of the Star Wars universe we can really dive into. And look, if you're somebody who hasn't been pleased with the Disney era Star Wars, yeah, I'm sure you'll say the same thing. It doesn't feel special anymore. Maybe you just haven't connected with the content that's out there. Has it all been great? No. Has some of it been mediocre? Yeah. Has some of it been bad? Definitely. But I do think that there's certainly some gems and some really great Star Wars content out there to certainly help elevate Star Wars, um, instead of taking away the aspect of it feeling special. Star Wars will, I don't know if, I think Star Wars will always feel special to me. Um, but yeah, we just live in a completely different time period now. Um, like we haven't gotten ourselves a Star Wars movie in quite some time. We probably won't get one until 2025. I don't know what the separation of time between Star Wars films are, but I can almost guarantee you when the next Star Wars films drop, Star Wars will probably feel special again. You know, it'll be that build up to something that we've wanted for a long time. I definitely want another Star Wars movie, as long as it's done right. So I don't fully agree with Liam Neeson's comments, but again, I guess it also depends on who you are. Like if you're just talking about recency in regards to any time since Disney has had it, I think anybody that has not been pleased with what Disney has said about done with Star Wars will probably agree with Liam Neeson. I'm just not one of them though. Kurt Marino. Hey everyone! In Batwoman season 2, when we had the character Tommy, aka Hush, impersonate Bruce Wayne by getting his face reconstructed, this storyline pretty much established what the actual Bruce Wayne might have looked like in the main Arrowverse. Though I did wish we were able to see him put on the bat suit, even if it was just for one episode, since we're still in the Batcave until Kate Kane took over the cape in season 1. We know the CW couldn't use Batman officially because of the DCEU owning the rights. What do you think of when we actually saw? What did you think of when we actually saw an actor for Bruce Wayne in the Arrowverse, and later again when Luke saw the illusion of his father and Bruce becoming Batwing? This is a question I definitely need Stuart or Indy around for. I do recall the episode of Bruce Wayne, the actor, and I mean, I guess he looked like Bruce Wayne, but he wasn't the real Bruce Wayne, right? He was like a dude impersonating Bruce. That was the Hush storyline. Yeah, I think I might have actually missed that storyline now that I'm thinking about it. So yeah, sorry about that, Kurt. I can't really answer that question. Um, Stuart, what do you think of the new suits and cast reveal for the new Super Sentai series, and how do they compare to suits of the past Sentai season? And do you have any favorites? Go Kaija was a great suit for me. I was also a big fan of Go Busters just because it was new and unique. And Kara Major also. I was a really big fan of the gems. Um, and Don Brothers suits are pretty dope too. I kind of dig their designs. Some of them. Um, As far as the suits in King Oger, I think they're fresh, man. I absolutely love them. I think they're so sick. The armor, I love the fact that they're like almost all one unified color, with the exception of just the trimmings around certain things. I think their masks look incredible. Also, I'm just a big fan of like the knight armor with the sword. I think it's a really great step in the right direction. Feels very Common Rider ish, if you ask me, but I really do. Really do really do dig it. As far as the cast, I love their costume designs. I think the costume designs in this season are going to be absolutely incredible. And last question, Doomsday. Whose side do you often go with when it comes to movie ratings? The critic score or the audience score? To be honest, probably the audience score a little bit more. Critics do have a tendency of being really harsh on films, but I mean, that's kind of almost their job, right? Like they're a critic for a reason. Um, they have the most expertise or look for things differently than I think audience members do. I always recommend also like those are I will say this, while I probably pay attention to both, but the score that I really usually land on and agree with some of the times, not all the time, but some of the times, is a cinema score. If you ever get a chance, go to the website Cinema Score. And usually what they do there is they'll usually will ask you questions as you come out of the movies. Um, It says Cinema Score is the industry leader in measuring movie appeal among theater audiences. Since 1978, Cinema Score has been polling moviegoers at major movie releases on opening night to collect demographic information and calculate a distinctive cinema score grade. Um, so yeah, so what they pretty much do is they just go and ask you on opening night as you've come out of the film, what are your thoughts on it? And I feel that's a pretty good, accurate audience score. I do feel like sometimes they can be maybe overly generous because they just came out of it, and so maybe there's maybe a hint towards positivity, but I do think that they are very much pretty close to the grade of a film. I'm always fascinated when the Rotten Tomatoes score and the audience score are just completely opposites, like in the Ant Man and the Wasp situation here, where we have the critic score at like a 40 something, which is just nonsensical if you ask me. The fact that this movie is the lowest rated MCU film, no, get the fuck out of here. Like there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. But then you look at the audience score and it's not out of the water, right? It's not like a 90 something percent. It's pretty average, 80 84, right? That's like a B. I think anybody would like be pleased with a movie that's like a B average, right? Like if you came home with a report card and it said, "Hey, you got a B," I'm sure you would probably get a treat from your parents, right, for doing such a good job this semester. Um, and then when I look at the cinema score for Ant Man and the Wasp, guess what the score is? They graded it a B. They graded it a B. And again, I said this probably is probably leaning positive, So I might take that to like a B minus. So I'm talking what, 80 to 83? Like, so yeah, I usually land towards the I usually lean towards the audience score when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes just a little bit more. But I would say if you really want like a pretty accurate one also, I would say go to Cinema Score. I think they do a really good job of grading movies overall. So definitely go ahead and check that out if you get a chance. But then listen, the one thing I will also say is, I don't rely too much on them. I don't mind checking them out, getting a feel for what people are thinking. But I don't allow them to ruin my concept of wanting to see a film, even if I don't like the result that people are saying about it, right? It's one of the reasons why I stopped reading first reactions to films, because you're invited to a premiere, right? You're seeing stars at the red carpet, getting to see a movie before anybody else certainly does. So you have that bias already on you. So once you come out, yeah, this is a great movie, yada yada yada, right? You're gonna say all great things about it. But then when the movie actually releases and you get to see what people are saying, sometimes it is just the complete polar opposite of it. The critics crapped on Ant Man and the Wasp, but the audiences seem to be enjoying it. I had the opportunity to check it out. I enjoyed it. It's a weird, wacky sort of ride, but it does some great world building. I think it's got some great storyline points for the main characters to really focus on. It feels very Land of the Lost, kind of lost in space, right? Like a group of people kind of thrusted out of their time and stuck into a world that they are not familiar with. And I kind of dug the backstory in regards to everything that certainly happened. I thought the action was pretty good. It's not a bombastic MCU film, but it's not crap either. Like it's an enjoyable film, and I think it's okay for films to be just enjoyable. I don't think every film's got to be an A plus. I think we can walk into a movie as adults, enjoy a film, and talk good about it without having to say like, "Oh, it's great" or "it's crap." No, there is an in between there somewhere. So I hope we eventually go back to the days of just appreciating movies for what they are and not feeling like it's the end of the world when an MCU film is just good and not spectacular. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens there, but hopefully that answers your question, Doomsday. But other than that, guys, that's gonna do it for me here. But we'll definitely be back later on this weekend for another live episode of A Plus Hero Report. If anything, guys, if not tomorrow, definitely expect by Thursday for me to go ahead and post another live viewer questions for you guys. So after Thursday, feel free to submit your questions. But until then, guys, that's gonna do it for me here. I'll see you later this weekend. Do me a big favor, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A plus. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.